Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. It is February 6th. I think this is going to be a fairly short video. Yesterday morning at about 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, so about 1 o'clock in Washington, I experienced a really significant energy shift, and it was heavy. And I'm not going to say dark, but it was definitely kind of just a heavy, heavy feeling. So I want to just take a look and see what that was about. I have some pretty clear ideas of what it was about, but I want to just share this with you. And depending on how this energy shifts or moves, I may very well take tomorrow off. However, the insight video will come out on Friday as it should, and the energy circle video will come out on Sunday. Okay, so let's just take a look at what exactly is going on that caused this real shift. Come on down. Explain energy shift, explain energy shift, explain energy shift. Okay, so a couple things. Here we go. If anybody thought that there wasn't a war between good and evil, positive and negative, etc., those two strong ends of the emotional spectrum, they would be wrong. Okay, they would be incorrect. And in fact, given sort of the energies that are going on right now, not only in the country of the United States, but frankly globally, there really is a sense that it is now time to really, really come together with great clarity and focus, because otherwise, not only is the United States, but frankly, by extension, the world, the globe, also going to have a very, very difficult fight on your hands. I'm not wanting to be negative or cause alarm, because I know that we are focused and strong and full of happy, positive thoughts, and we're going to move this thing in the direction where we want to see the change take place. However, it would be absolutely naive to think that there are not elements going on under the surface, out of our sight, and there is not quite the clarity at this point that we would like to have. So just before, as an example, just before I came, I sat down to record this thing, I got a news alert that said that internet trolls were incredibly, incredibly busy the night of the Iowa caucus. And what they were doing was they were jamming the phone lines. So when the app didn't work or didn't work properly, then everybody was reverting to phoning in their information, except there were, trolls impacting the volume of calls going in. And so that in and of itself was creating a huge, huge problem. Why did this happen? Okay. Again, I am not a conspiracy nut, but, there were some comments about, the Republicans are out to get the Democrats and whatever, okay? Or one part of the Democratic Party is out to destroy the other part of the Democratic Party. And you know what? Unfortunately, that's closer to the truth, and I'll tell you why. It is because not only were the Russian trolls, not only were the internet trolls being very, very busy, but the game plan for the going forward in 2020 in terms of the Democrats, it is really, really not about, it's almost not about like destroying one of them systematically at a time from the Republican side or frankly from Russia's side. What it is about dividing the Democratic Party into the center wing, if you will, and the left wing. And what it is doing, it is creating division right there within the party. And that is how come things are getting rocky. There has actually been an energy drain away from the party. I think people are exhausted. But you definitely have a situation here where voter turnout or caucus turnout, however they calculate that number, it was down significantly. It was way lower than they anticipated. We're going to go into New Hampshire, I guess, early next week, and that's a primary. So, but there's definitely a sense that there was this division, but the division is being created within the party, and that friction is, I'm not saying it was never there. I'm just saying that it is being amplified and magnified by whatever is going on. And that energy is, again, it is within the party already. And there is a force or an energy that is taking great pleasure in amplifying that and causing that to become destructive. Okay. There's just information that is getting muddied, okay, and it's not coming out clearly. I don't think that you have clarity, for example, on a lot of things, not only within your country, but we as citizens of the globe. I don't believe that, for example, the coronavirus is being accurately reported. I think that there are things going on behind the scenes that are manipulating even possibly the stock market. So what has happened just energetically, as near as I can try to absorb it and explain it, is that you have a situation where the truth is no longer necessary. It's no longer important to tell the truth, not to your citizens, not to your neighbors, not, to the world at large. So China, who already does not exactly have a great track record in terms of, being transparent, their numbers aren't accurate. We're not getting the right numbers from them. There's things going on in different pockets of the world. And what has happened with that acquittal yesterday is that it has given license for this kind of behavior. And literally, it's kind of like this. Well, if the greatest nation and the strongest nation in the world can succumb to this, clearly that really is the way the world is. And so we should just carry on. So I think what I'm trying to say is this. There is a lot going on that we just don't have clarity on. And so it's incredibly, incredibly important to stay in a place that is calm and that is not reactionary and sort of aggressive. There was a lot more aggressive energy and comments even on my little channel over the last 3 or 4 days than I think I've actually seen ever. So there's definitely this ramping up of this sort of negative and in-your-face kind of energy. And that is exactly the energy that we don't want amplified, because what that does is that stokes the fear and it gets everybody rattled and riled. The other thing I want to share with you is the timing of the whole acquittal thing was really interesting, wasn't it? He wasn't acquitted for the State of the Union, which I saved my mental health and did not watch. But the morning after he was acquitted yesterday, is the Washington prayer breakfast. So now it makes perfect sense, right? They didn't want Trump mouthing off like a loon during the State of the Union because that's like really public, right? And that kind of goes down in history and everybody watches it. They wanted him contained. But at the prayer breakfast this morning, he went off on everybody, Mitch Oh my God, the guy from Utah, him. You know, he's now become the devil incarnate because he basically said, no, 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 you know, we can't accept this. Um, he's going after everybody. The Democrats are corrupt and they're horrible and they're vicious, and he is revving up that base. Who puts the prayer breakfast together? Who sponsors that? Who is behind that? The evangelical movement. If you have not gone to Netflix and watched The Family, you need to do that. It really does give great clarity to the politicians in the United States who really, really are under the evangelical, I was going to say umbrella, but really it's a stronghold. Okay, it really is. And the fact that they were able to get this acquittal through in time for this breakfast so that they all can rejoice and celebrate the fact that, yes, indeed, he is going to go forward with his mission, and ultimately that is their mission. So this is the energy I'm talking about. There's this energy around where things are not as they seem. There is far more maneuvering and shifting going on behind the ground, behind the scenes, than I think any of us are aware of. And that is why I got this really, really heavy download of just very dark and heavy energy. So how are we going to combat that? Okay, so now everybody has a heads up that things, things aren't so good, right? I mean, there's a lot of crap going on out there. And how are we going to fight that? Excuse me. How are we going to try to get this situation sort of under control so that we are not being negatively impacted by it, so that we can figure out a way how to stay positive and stay united and move forward? That becomes the focus, doesn't it? That becomes the question. So let's see if I can find out some answers on that. But I do caution each and every one of you to be very, very careful about emotional reactions, emotional responses, keeping your energies as high and bright as you can, because you're going to see that sort of increased amount of just negativity, and honestly, mixed up messages and no clarity. And we're going into Pisces retrograde, Mercury retrograde. And so that's a concern, right? Because things are going to be even more sort of fuzzy and delusional and confused than they typically are, because it's Pisces. So let's just see if I can get a bit of a handle on exactly how we're supposed to gently push this energy away so that we can keep our equilibrium and stay where we need to stay, and not fight or not, frankly, add to the kind of crazy that's actually going on out there and it's being amplified. So it's a lot of things, right? It's just disappointment. It is that sense of betrayal, and betrayal triggers intense emotions. It is that sense that the Democrat Big Bang beginning of the whole nomination thing for president, well, that got off to like a horrendous, terrible, terrible start. And more importantly, within a couple of days, we now have some real clarity on exactly how that was disrupted. And the question becomes, okay, how do we avoid this, right? What needs to be put in place? Yesterday, you had Bill Barr coming out with some sort of a memorandum saying that from this point until the election, there can be no investigations of presidents or vice presidents. I noticed he didn't say nominees. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't believe that's what he said. But what he did say, and I mean, that's fairly typical, right? Everybody knows the year before the election, you try not to pick on the people who are, trying to get elected. But he added a twist to it, and the twist to it was, you can't start any investigations until you have received my personal approval and, I guess, blessing. So things are ratcheting up, right? These energies are getting just a little bit more volatile, a little bit more extreme, because frankly, permission has been given. Come on, let's see what Spirit can tell us to try to ease this, because it's definitely a difficult time. Okay, Spirit, excuse me. Insight regarding earth energies and balancing them. Insight, earth energies, balance. Insight, earth energy, balance. Okay, so human nature being what human nature is, we all understand that the easiest way to get a reaction out of somebody, to sort of incite something or someone, is to play on their emotions, their sense of pride, their ego, their sense of safety or security, triggering their fear mechanisms. All of those things become ways that other outside forces can manipulate how you or your family or your neighborhood or the masses are feeling. And so mostly the first thing, the clearest message I'm getting right now is that first, you have to be aware of the fact that that energy is out there. Secondly, you have to be aware of the fact that to one degree or another, the information you are receiving is being manipulated by outside forces. And so what it is, you've got these outside forces and you've got this really chaotic energy, and now you've got the emotions kind of bubbling up and burbling up, and there's like a lot going on right now, just in terms of energy. And I'm talking again globally. I mean, that corona thing is scary because you're talking about far more deaths and far more infections, if you will, than we're even aware of that are going on right now. Heaven only knows what's going to happen going forward. So there's a lot of fear and a lot of agitation going on all over the place. And so what the message then becomes is it becomes more and more important to keep your emotions and your thoughts as clear as possible, as filled with hope as possible. It is important to not get into those lower kind of negative and bombastic energies. It is important to try to figure out a way to take the best of what we know from the past, from previous exercises, etc., from previous experiences, and try to blend it into something that is workable for now. So what I'm saying is you're trying to blend the wisdom of the old and the wisdom of the new. You're trying to bring them together so that there is clarity and insight. So it's not one extreme or the other. It really does need to be an energy that travels sort of a little bit more center, because there's definitely a lot going on behind the scenes. So what we're going to do, how are we going to fight this? Okay, we're going to take 3 deep breaths. We're going to understand that all is not lost. You have the Ace of Cups, the Ace of Wands, the Ace of Pentacles, and you have the 10 of Cups. Their hope is not lost. But the warning is, if you don't figure out how to keep emotional reactions balanced and not sort of aggressive or angry, it makes the work you're trying to do that much more difficult. So we've now come to a place where our emotions and our emotional responses, our senses of safety and security have got to be tended. We have to keep ourselves and our energy strong and positive. And for anybody who is still not motivated and activated, if that is something that you can do, then it's time to become a little bit more active and a little bit more proactive. And isn't that nice? Okay, like really, isn't that nice? So you have now literally the Ace of Cups, of Wands, of Pentacles, and of Swords. You have the Ten of Cups, and you have, of course, the Eight of Wands, talking about the speed and things moving very, very quickly, and how important it is to kind of keep up to speed, if you will. Keep things moving ahead in a way that is positive and productive, and uses those aces, uses the power of those aces to move things forward. They're saying, in some ways, this is a turning point. It's either hope is all lost or all hope is gained. And so, of course, we are trying to move into the all hope is gained scenario, because we very, very much want to create a change of fortune within the country, within the world. We want to move from this negative place to a place where better angels can thrive and survive. We want a balance. We want everybody to have benefits. We want, we just are looking for a more inclusive experience on the globe. And there are going to be those forces and those energies that are really, really trying to push back against that. And you know what? As I keep saying, light always trumps darkness. So part of what we're looking at here, and part of what we're working with here, is a real focus on staying positive, and a real focus on getting active and understanding that we have now hit a new road. There is only one way at this point to resolve this issue within the government, and that is the November election. Am I saying that things aren't going to happen between now and then? I'm not. I'm saying, though, that your focus now needs to become on recognizing that that the forces that are dark are actually gaining momentum because of what has gone on in Washington, and the acquittal, and the secrets going on out of China. And, and again, there's anxiety in Australia with the fires and those poor animals. There is stuff going on in Great Britain. You've got the whole Brexit thing showing up, that's trying to sort itself out now. So there's a lot of anxiety just globally, and we're all going to take many, many deep breaths and calm down, and we're going to stay really positive. If anybody has not had a chance to see the video on the Soulprint Insights channel that was released yesterday about the power of energy, I really do encourage you to check it out, because there might be some clarity that is gained there in terms of exactly how powerful our emotions and our energies are, and how we can really make them work for the goal we're trying to achieve, or in fact, basically completely sabotage ourselves. So I really encourage you to stay as positive as possible. Stay alert. Pay attention to what's going on. Don't watch what they say, watch what they do. Look at the timing of things. Look at how information trickles out or doesn't trickle out. And, never lose sight of the fact that people in Washington are really good game players, and they don't hesitate to play games. Bolton is a perfect example of that, right? I'll come if you subpoena me. Oh, no, I won't. I'll sue you instead. I'll come to the Senate if you subpoena me. Oh, nobody wants to subpoena me. Fine. Apparently, the House Intelligence Committee reached out to John Bolton when the vote was taken to not call witnesses, and they asked him to just not even testify, just supply a statement of fact, and he declined. So, he pretends to be one thing. Is he that? I don't know. So be mindful of the fact there's a lot going on that is not clear, and I want you to not fall into the trap. Stay focused, stay clear, and stay smart. Okay. For sure, I'll see you next week. And we'll see how I'm doing tomorrow, but whether or not I surface. Take care. Stay positive. You know what? It's not all doom or gloom, but you can't live with rose-colored glasses. Sometimes in order to know what it is you're pushing back against, you have to have some clarity on what it is. And what it is becoming more and more clear as this sort of negativity builds up momentum. All right. Until next time, take care. Be well. And I'll see you soon. Bye.